I used to get scared of the dark. Not being in a house in the dark, or even being in town in the dark, which is where you should be scared. It was always being out in the woods on your own in the dark. That's where it used to get me. It doesn't really anymore. One of the things you learn if you do a lot of solo wild camping is that there's nothing out there that wants to get you. In this part of the world, at least. Yeah, we don't have bears or wolves. We don't have any venomous critters who want to share a bed with you for the night. And actually, the more time I've spent sleeping out in the woods, the more I've come to find it quite comforting. Like a blanket you wrap round yourself that keeps the rest of the world out, rather than being something that means you any harm. Just occasionally, though, something sets me off. Usually something innocuous, a crackle in the undergrowth that I can't identify, or something glimpsed on the corner of the light, just out of sight. That's enough to do it. When I was riding the Pennine Bridleway earlier this year, I spent 7 nights, I think, just camped out on my own up on the hills. And I was fine, except for one night. I remember I ended that day and I was riding just through a patch of moorland. So I was on a nice gravel road, but there was nothing around me, just heather and hills to the horizon in every direction. And then up ahead I saw this stand of trees. And I thought, okay, I'll get down in there, that'll be some shelter for the night. And I came down to it and it was a weird place. Only a few acres of trees, I think, and completely surrounded by this big dry stone wall. And as I was pushing my bike through the little gate, a cyclist went by on the main track up above me. And I got it into my head that he had noticed me. Yeah, not just seen me, but had really noticed me. And this was fine. You know, I found my little clearing in the woods and I pitched my tent and I cooked some food. I think I filmed an outro for my video for that day. And then dusk was falling, so I got into my tent, I zipped up, and as I was going to go to sleep, I heard helicopters. Not little commercial jobs, big military helicopters, dugga 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 dugga, coming in. And they approached, and they flew right over me. And whether it was my imagination or not, they seemed to hover above me. And suddenly, unbidden, and yet in perfect, horrific detail, this scenario just popped into my head. That cyclist had noticed me, and he had ridden back to town as fast as he could and gone straight to the military base. And he had pulled the commanding officer out of some important meeting and said, "There's a bike packer in Blood Demon Woods." And the commanding officer spits his coffee out across the map of the Pennines, says, "What? No, this is terrible. We can't have another bike packer torn apart by demons." Because these guys are local. They know there's an ancient evil in Blood Demon Woods. And they need to keep morale up. They can't have the bad publicity. They got to keep the beaches open. So they know they have to get me out of there. So they scramble their 2 helicopters with their crack demon fighting special forces people in it. And these 2 helicopters set off. And I can hear them on their radios in my head as they approach. I can hear the first one is saying, "Alpha, Tango, Breaker, Breaker, Niner, Niner. We have a visual on the bike packer. We got a single white male. He's ruggedly handsome. He's in a tent. He's got a bicycle. I think it's a surly ogre. We're going in for an extraction." But the other helicopter, which is doing perimeters, suddenly they come on the radio and they're saying, "No, negative, negative. Do not engage. We've got blood demons coming in from the west." And on their scope, you can see these shapes coming in towards my tent, fanning out. And these guys, they know they're no match for these things, so they pull up their ropes and they holster their sidearms or whatever it is they do, and they back off. It's in the lap of the gods now. They'll just come back later and clean up the mess. And as these helicopters fly off, I lie in my tent absolutely certain that I'm about to die. Real fear. Real fear. All I can see is that infrared scope image of those shapes encircling my tent, slowly coming in towards me. And it's very strange because it's like there's two people in my head. There's the sensible me, who likes maps and charts and science and maths, making lists. And then there's the imaginative me, who likes ghosts and spirits and demons and UFOs and unexplained disappearances and haunted houses. And normally the two get on really well. They collaborate together beautifully and they come up with some great stuff. But every now and again, sensible me has to step out of the room. And imaginative me occasionally takes this opportunity to just go bonkers. He locks the door, puts his pants on his head and starts climbing around all over the furniture, screaming about the end of the world and zombies and stuff. And sensible me is just outside the door saying, calm down, everything's fine, there are no demons, no, just get down, it's fine, don't worry. And eventually he gets the door open and he comes in and everything is fine. Terribly sorry, it's all a misunderstanding, everyone back to work. And that's exactly what happened. I lay in my tent in absolute fear for about 15 minutes and then suddenly went, oh, that's right, none of that stuff's real, is it? Sorry. I went to sleep, slept through the night, woke up in the morning unmolested and carried on my journey. So my question, I guess, is, lots of you folk out there, you must do solo wild camping. Does this happen to you? Is this just me? Do you get these sudden attacks of the fear for no reason at all? And more interestingly, if you do, what is it? What's the thing that you fear? Because I think you can tell a lot about someone by the answer to that question. You know, is it an animal? Is it a person? Is it a spirit or a demon or something mythological? You know, I think this will depend massively on where you are, on your education, your upbringing, your gender, all kinds of stuff. For me, I can pinpoint it. For me, it's The American Werewolf. And that film, The American Werewolf in London, I watched that, I was maybe 9. I watched it with a friend of mine. I say I watched it, I did about 20 minutes, it nearly killed me. We got to that bit where they first get attacked by the werewolf up on the moors, and that was it. I couldn't handle it, I had to go home, it was too much. And for weeks afterwards, months probably, I had vivid nightmares about werewolves. And to this day, now I'm 44 years old now, and still, my fear is that scene. Not so much the werewolf, but the being stalked. The idea that there is something out there which is bigger and stronger and faster and better adapted to being here than I am, and that all it wants to do is tear me to pieces. There's nothing you can do. There's no point hiding or screaming or fighting back or running or calling for help. There's nothing you can do except lie there, waiting for the sound of claws rasping down the canvas and that hot, rancid breath on your face just before it tears it off. Stupid, really, but that's the way it happens. I probably should have done this one at Halloween. I think that would have made a lot more sense, but I've never been that good at forward planning and I probably never will be. I'm out here, it's coming to the end of December now, and I wanted to do another overnighter before the end of the year, but I was finally spurred into it by two things. One of them was that bikepacking.com are doing their Goodnight 2021 camp out thing. Spend a night out in the woods, tag him in a photo, maybe win some goodies. So I'll put a link to that below. It's quite possible that it will be over by the time you watch this, but I expect they'll do it next year. And I have a big soft spot for bikepacking.com just because I found them incredibly helpful when I was building the Ogre. So go check them out if you haven't already. The second reason is Mark. You know who you are, sir. Mark is a viewer of this channel and the owner of this lovely little patch of woodland where he has given me permission to come and wild camp. So that is a massive bonus. I have a place to come where I don't have to worry about getting chased away by gamekeepers. So that's great. There's a little fire pit down here that I've managed to coax a morning fire out of the embers of last night's, which is lovely. I've got a coffee, and really, I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you all know that I'm still alive. I've been a bit slack with videos recently. It's been busy. I will get back on it in the next month. So I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe, hope you're all doing okay. And yeah, don't let the werewolves get you, or the zombies, or the demons, or the ghosts, or the cannibalistic hillbillies, or any of that lot. See you on the other side. Cheers all.